Welcome back, survivalists. With the World Health Organization finally declaring this a global pandemic, and with the White House declaring a national emergency, it seems like the gravity of the situation is finally starting to dawn for many people, and with it, panic is starting to set in. And this panic is causing many people to stock up on completely irrational items. So as a prepper who's been preparing for the situation for years and making videos about this virus since January, today I'm gonna run through all the items that you should and should not be stocking up right now. So first I'm gonna run through all the items that you do not need to buy, that they're just a waste of time, and you actually going to the store to buy these items is further risking you getting exposed to this virus. So obviously the first item on this list is going to be toilet paper. I don't know how this craze with the toilet paper got started, but it is completely irrational. But when we look at countries that have been going through this exact situation for weeks now, and some even months, like China, Japan, South Korea, Iran, Italy, none of them are reporting a shortage on toilet paper. None. That is not their main focus. And because of social media, many people in these countries are actually vlogging their experiences, they're making posts and updates to people. None of them are reporting a shortage on toilet paper. You do not need to stock up on toilet paper. The next thing you don't need to buy is bottled water. Now, buying bottled water does make sense to prepare for some emergencies. If there's a hurricane, if there's a tornado, if there's an earthquake, all of that can affect your supply of water coming into your home. But even if your local government shuts down non-essential government offices, they are not going to shut down your water treatment plant. I can assure you that you will still have access to clean water coming into your home. And from what I've read, there is zero evidence that this virus is being transmitted through water. The next irrational thing I'm seeing people stock up on is gasoline. And again, in some emergency situations, this does make sense, like a hurricane or an earthquake or a tornado. But in this situation, this is not what you should be focusing on. And then when you really think about that supply chain of gasoline trucks delivering gas to gas stations, there is virtually no human interaction with that whatsoever. There's also virtually no human interaction with you buying that gasoline. I actually don't foresee that supply chain being disrupted by this virus. And honestly, what you're gonna see is more and more people self-quarantining themselves in their homes and not driving. So there's actually not gonna be a very high demand for gasoline at all. Now, you may be concerned that you may lose electricity during this disaster and you want gasoline for your generator. But honestly, I do not see the electric companies shutting down because of this virus and us losing electricity. Gas should not be your priority right now. I'm also seeing a lot of people talking about buying water filters. And again, this should not be your priority. Most likely, I can almost guarantee you will have access to clean drinking water in your home. That water supply will not be disrupted by this virus. The last thing I see people talking about buying right now is guns and ammunition. This is not the end of the world. Situation is going to get bad. It is going to disrupt our way of life for several months, maybe even longer, until we reach that herd immunity level. But this is not the end of the world. We do not need to stock up on guns and ammunition. And again, when we look at the countries that have been going through this for months now, none of them are experiencing extreme civil unrest. So now let's take a look at the items that you should be stocking up on right now if you can still get access to them. With this type of disaster, the best thing that we can all do for ourselves and for each other is to self-quarantine ourselves. Lock yourself into your home and just don't leave your house for several weeks. The first thing I recommend you buy is food, and really just your normal food that you eat every day. But instead of buying 1 week's supply like you normally do, I really would encourage you to buy 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe 2 months worth of your normal food supplies. Your ability to self-quarantine yourself in your own home is going to be determined by how much food you have in your home. Like I said before, you will have access to clean drinking water and you will have access to electricity. So food is going to be the determining factor of how long you can lock yourself in your home. For the most part, I'd say that you should just buy what you normally eat and just buy it in a larger quantity. After you do that, then you can buy some additional non-perishable foods as well, such as canned goods, pastas, and one of my favorites is actually peanut butter. It is incredibly calorically dense, has a lot of protein, and I actually really enjoy it. I do foresee a shortage in some of these food supplies in the future. I don't see an extreme shortage though. I don't see us completely running out of food in the grocery stores. But by stocking up on the food right now, in a few weeks from now, when this thing reaches its peak, and we have the most amount of infected people out in our communities, you will have the luxury that you do not need to go to the grocery store and risk exposing yourself to this virus because you stocked up on food ahead of time. The next thing you should try to stock up on is any prescription medication. Now this is a little crazy, but much of our medication is actually made overseas, and we are already seeing major supply chain disruptions with things that we're importing from other countries. So if you do have some sort of life-threatening illness or condition already, you should try to stock up on as much medication as you can right now. So the next thing is going to be over-the-counter cold medicine. This is going to be things like Emergen-C and Dayquil, maybe some cough drops. And the reason for this is that 80% of these cases are actually mild. These are just people who have really bad colds. Now in China, how they're doing things is that if you get this virus, you're supposed to go to a special camp of other people who are infected with this virus so that you do not risk infecting your family members with the virus as well. And that is a possibility that America may go that route. The other route that they can go is following the Italy model, where if you are sick, you are supposed to self-quarantine yourself in your home. The downfall to this model is that typically everybody in that household is then going to get the virus as well. So right now, we don't know what model the US is going to take, but I suspect that they're going to tell everybody to self-quarantine themselves, even if that does increase the risk of getting their family sick. So there may be a very real possibility that you may get this and just have a really bad cold, but you are not supposed to go out to the stores to buy cold medicine. That's why I recommend that you stock up on some of those over-the-counter medicines right now in preparation for you potentially getting sick soon. Now, if you can still get your hands on them, buying one of these emergency food buckets may not be a bad idea. I bought a few of them for about $100 each a few months ago, although I suspect they may be selling for a lot more right now. And again, these are really for worst case scenario. If you run out of your normal food and we just so happens to be at peak infection at that time, you may not want to go out to the stores and potentially expose yourself to this virus. So having these emergency rations as a backup could help you extend your self-quarantine a little bit longer. So another thing you may want to buy is either some Lysol or Clorox disinfecting wipes. They actually literally say on the back that they kill coronavirus. And the reason for this is because this virus can live on items such as doorknobs and gas pumps, and even things that you may buy at the grocery store. Now, I have heard mixed reports. Some people are saying they can only live on these surfaces for a few hours, while other people are saying they can live on these surfaces for a few days. But if you really don't want this virus, it may not be a terrible idea to get some of these wipes and wipe down everything that you bring into your home. If you can still find them, I also recommend that you get some gloves. Now, some medical grade gloves would be ideal, but even some food grade gloves like this can still be very beneficial. One of the ways that this virus is transmitted is by people getting it on their hands and then touching their face. So one thing that I'm doing right now is when I go and I pump gas, I put on one of these food grade gloves just to handle the gas pump, and then after I'm done, I just throw the glove away. So wearing just about any kind of glove when you go out in public can help prevent getting this virus on your hands, which could then lead to getting the virus on your face and then inside your body. Now, the last thing that I personally like having is either some of these N95 masks or the surgical mask. Now, there is a lot of conflicting information out there about how effective these are and whether or not you should buy them or not. The CDC is telling Americans that they do not need to go out and buy these masks. However, I fear that they may have an alternative agenda because here in America, we have a great shortage of these masks, especially in the medical community, as well in the military community. And most of the masks that we do have are manufactured overseas in countries like China, who are hoarding these masks for themselves. So right now there's a big push in several American factories to start producing more of these N95 masks because there is a shortage in our country. And I genuinely believe that the CDC is telling us that we do not need these masks because they want that supplies for the medical community. But when you look at studies coming out of China, they say that these masks can help prevent you getting this virus. And in fact, China actually requires that everybody at a very minimum is wearing a medical mask when they go out into public. So medical masks like this are actually intended to keep any virus inside your body from coming out and infecting other people. As you can see, there's actually little gaps right here and right up here where air can actually come in and bypass the mask altogether. But if you can get your hands on a few medical masks, I do recommend it. At the very least, it'll help prevent you from touching your face as much. And if you do have the virus and you are self-quarantining in your own home with your family, it may help lower the chances of you spreading it to your family. But the best mask to get is one of these N95 respirators. These actually conform to your face much better and create a tighter seal, so less air is bypassing the mask. If you want to watch some of my other videos around this pandemic, you can click this playlist right here. And if you want to stay current on the latest news and advice around this pandemic, subscribe and hit that little bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you over in the next video.